Hey, family. You know, when we look at the Bible or we look at early church history, we read about these people called apostles. And one of the apostles that stood out the most was the apostle Paul. I mean, this guy was like a super apostle. I mean, for the gospel, he was shipwrecked, beaten, stoned, bit by snakes. I mean, even if we read the New Testament, we can see that over a third, almost half of it was either written by him or written about him. Now, the word apostle actually means sent out one. You know, you're sent out, your messenger sent out by God, you know, to do his work for the kingdom. And some people today have the gift of that. They have the gift of apostleship, you know, church planners, pastors. Yes, but the title, the position of apostle was something totally different. Matter of fact, it has certain qualifications. There were certain things that had to happen that you had to qualify for, that you have to have done or something to be able to even be considered an apostle. And one of those, the main criteria, the main qualification, was that you had to be an eyewitness to the risen Lord. Yes, it means after Jesus died and rose, you had to be an eyewitness and saw him personally. It means Jesus had to pick you for that. And not everybody got to see that. And so Paul, he's showing this in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. He says in verse 5, he says, in accordance with the scriptures, that he appeared to Cephas, Cephas being Peter, then to the 12, remember the 12 disciples, excuse me, turned apostles. Then he appeared to more than 500 brothers at one time. He's talking about the ascension when we see in Acts chapter 1. Most of them who are still alive, meaning they were still eyewitnesses because they could prove it and they could back it up by testimony that this was true, what Paul was saying, though some had fallen asleep. And we know what Paul says falling asleep means they're dead, but they're waiting on Jesus to come back. Then he appeared to James, James being Jesus' brother, and we know from earlier that James didn't even believe Jesus was God until after he came back from the dead. And then he was like, what? Okay, you're God. Then to the rest of the apostles. Last of all. Now this is very important, okay? I need you to really listen to this part. Last of all, okay? He's saying it right now, last of all. Last means last. As the one untimely born, he appeared also to me. So Paul is saying he was the last eyewitness. Now, if we know that eyewitness was a qualification, something that had to happen, and he was the last one, then the title, the position of apostle had to end there. Not the gifts, the title or position. It's very important clarification. For I am the least of the apostles, unworthy to be called an apostle because I have persecuted the church of God. And we're going to go into that more tomorrow, but what he's saying is he's showing us that the apostles had to be eyewitness. So sometimes you might see somebody and they put apostle in front of their name. That's a self-title. The actual apostle position was a title that was given by God, not by man. Paul was the apostle to the Gentiles, and he was a super apostle. And these were people that were sent out by God for a purpose. You can have the gifts, but the position, well, not everybody got that. Those were special people that were sent out by God himself. All right, family. You guys have a blessed day.